So yeah, we're getting going here for Rohatsu session, and it's cold, it's dark, and it's the end of an intensive period, and so it's just really strong, strong practice here, and I really appreciate you doing it with me. So as I said on Sunday, the Rohatsu session is around Bodhi Day, which is the day considered to be the Buddha's Enlightenment Day. And so I thought for the talks this week, I would talk about some of the enlightenment cases of our ancestors in this book of koans called The Record of Transmitting the Light, or the Denko Roku, or the Denko Roku. So I'm kind of picking up from last year because I went back to last Rahatsu, December 2024, and Kyoshin and I were switching off talking about these cases of enlightenment stories starting with the Buddha. So I think we got through the first five cases, or four cases. And so I wanted to just kind of pick up where we left off a year ago. And so, yeah, just imagine this is a collection of the stories of awakening, enlightenment, dropping off, however you want to say it, of the first ancestors from the Buddha. The Buddha had someone that he really connected with, and so he passed on his dharma, saying, "You share my mind." And then that person had a student and passed it on to him, and that student, and that's the next student, next student. And that is our lineage. So when we chant all those names in the morning during morning service, we're honoring that direct transmission of the Buddha's mind from Buddha down to us today. See if I wanted to say anything else about that. Maybe we just dive right in. So last year we stopped at Dritaka, who was the fifth ancestor. And so we'll just pick right on up a year later. How about that? So the sixth ancestor was Michaka. And again, you'll see these names in the lineage that we chant every morning. So it's kind of nice to have a little story, a little background to these names that we chant every day. So Michaka was the sixth ancestor. He studied with Dritaka, the fifth ancestor. And one day, Dritaka, the fifth ancestor, the teacher in this case, said to Michaka, "The Buddha said, practicing wizardry and studying the small is like being dragged with a rope. You yourself should know that if you leave the small stream and immediately come to the great ocean, you will realize the birthless." Hearing this, the master Michaka experienced awakening. So that's his story. And a little bit of background, each one of these cases has some like historical context and then like a commentary talk afterwards. So a little historical context, our main figure here, Michaka, the sixth ancestor, was apparently a wizard. He was like a wizard master in central India. And he apparently had 8,000 wizard followers. And they had all these special powers, doing magic tricks, reading minds. I don't know what they were doing, but they were wizards. And apparently he had some kind of connection with himself from another eon, and found out that he was supposed to meet his next big teacher to help him thoroughly awaken, which is when he meets Dritaka, and we have this story. So here comes this master wizard with 8,000 wizard followers to Dritaka. And Dritaka says right off the bat, practicing wizardry and studying the small is like being dragged with a rope. It's pretty direct. So what is this wizardry and small? Right? Because this has to be universal. All these koan stories, all these sutras, with all their flowery language and all the magic and all the, weird kind of things that pop up, the reason they still exist today is because they are completely relevant to our life. So when I think wizardry, practicing wizardry, studying the small, I just think of all the ways that we try to change our life. We try to work wizardry on our bodies by tanning, dieting, working out, taking supplements. This is wizardry. We do wizardry on our minds by reading books and gaining knowledge. We do wizardry in our relationships by going to counseling and buying each other gifts, trying to win someone over, flirting, courting someone. This is all wizardry, trying to make things happen. Politics. Politics is wizardry. We try to whip up enough people to vote for this initiative or this movement or this person so that we can establish this change in the world. So this is the wizardry and the small that we study. And so he says it's like being dragged with a rope. So I feel like the immediate reaction to that is, oh, how awful. I don't want to be dragged with a rope. And so, yeah, from that perspective, it's, don't try to change anything. Don't worry about trying to control your life, because then you are slave to preferences. I'd rather be like this. I'd rather the world be like that. But also, being dragged by a rope is like being on a cart. That's kind of nice. If I'm as tired as I am during sesshin, I would love to be dragged around by a rope. And that's, I think, is important, even though that's not necessarily what he's saying directly here. It does not mean that we give up trying to make change, being healthier with our bodies, electing better leaders, changing systems, pointing out, anti-racism is kind of wizardry. It's dealing in the small differences of our phenomenal world. But I think that stuff is great. That's how we use the rope wisely. So yeah, both sides are important to see here. When am I getting lost in wizardry? When am I getting attached to the small stuff, trying to be a magician and change my world? And how can I use magic for good? How can I be a good wizard? I think that's really important. But, for the sake of this story, Dritaka sees Michaka as this, like, wizard guy. So he's going around dedicating his whole life and his whole practice to wizardry. And so he sees that what Michaka needs to hear in this moment is that wizardry is actually small. And he says, "You yourself should know. You should see it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. You yourself should know that if you leave the small stream and immediately come to the great ocean, you will realize the birthless." Yeah, so this great ocean of the universe. Everything is one big shared body of water. Everything. And so to spend time pointing out good and bad and pretty and ugly and useful and not useful and all these ways that we separate things is dividing this giant ocean of thusness into these tiny little streams that we can get caught up in. And we do sesshin to really be able to come in direct contact with this great ocean. I talked about being touched by water on Sunday. Totally different koan, totally different everything. But it's the same principle. We're always stepping into this ocean bath constantly. This ocean bath that is nothing but ourselves. But these little streams, their currents can be pretty strong. And so they whisk us away. So yeah, just hearing this about this great ocean, Michaka has enlightenment. So we just have a few minutes left, and I wanted to read each one of these cases in addition to the case, the historical context, and then the commentary. He also offers a poem, he being Keizan Zenji, who is the Dharma great-grandson of Dogen Zenji. He's famous, he's ancient, he blew up Zen in Japan, he made it accessible and kind of popularized it, or at least, made it more accessible. Anyway, Keizan Zenji, you'll hear that name. So he offers these poems at the end of each case. He says, "Even with purity, like an autumn flood reaching to the heavens, how can it compare with the haziness of a spring night's moon? Many people desire to find purity in their lives, but though they sweep and sweep, their minds are not yet empty." So this kind of points to what most of his commentary is about, which is actually really important, and I don't have enough time, so this will just be a big old mistake talk, like they all are. But the important thing is that enlightenment, even that, even saying, "Oh, I was deluded by these small streams. I'm now going to embrace the big ocean so that I can just be free in the big ocean of the..." Even that is wizardry. The notion of becoming enlightened, wizardry. The notion of becoming something different, all of these things that we say, dropping off body and mind, cutting off delusion, going to the source, all these ways we talk about these holy things. If we get stuck in that concept, it's just wizardry. It's about being totally free of everything, including enlightenment, awakening, oneness. So, that's why this verse says, even with purity like an autumn flood reaching to the heavens. Autumn can be seen in Zen writings as, the dropping off of leaves, dying, killing our concepts and ideas and self, like a flood reaching to the heavens of this great oneness. How can that compare with the haziness of a spring night's moon? So spring is the opposite. It's life. It's being born. It's curiosity. It's newness. It's freshness and haziness and not really knowing what you're doing and curiosity and, a hazy moon, hazy enlightenment, hazy understanding. That's even better than this, enlightenment, clear, pure enlightenment. Many people desire to find purity in their lives. Purity, love, perfection, clarity, goodness. Be careful of that. It's good to have visions and intentions, but be careful of living and dying and getting attached to whatever it is you want to get. Though they sweep and sweep, their minds are not yet empty. And that is definitively true, because no matter how much you sweep, the broom is still there. So let's keep sweeping in this cold, dark, hazy, intimate week together.